Well, hello and good morning to another episode of Shed Customs, and in this episode we're going to be playing with some fuel taps. So my plan is to do a sort of like how do you take a fuel tap apart and what's involved in cleaning it up. Hopefully you find it interesting. Let me know. I'll turn you around and we'll show you what's going on with the fuel tap. So here's one of the fuel taps. I've had them soaking in some white spirit for the last couple of days. You can see that toothbrush only relatively come out the bathroom. So I'm going to show you how to take it apart together. We're going to clean it up. Basically these came out of an old fuel tank, and the fuel that was in there was so rotten it actually dissolved the plastic for the fuel filter. So I've got some new fuel filters to fit. So I'll set you up on a tripod and let's take these apart. Right, so what we've got, I don't know if you can see that in there, there's a little circlet. So at the moment they're not too bad to operate. I thought while I had the opportunity I'd take them out and give them a bit of a clean. Let's see if I can get the circlip out. So I've got a set of these reversible circlip pliers, so you can take the tops off and you can turn around and they become an internal or an external. So we're just going to pop that in there. Right. Okay. Right. So what you've got is the turning mechanism with a spring that keeps it preloaded, and then you've got a rubber seal in there. So I'm going to pull the rubber seal out. I'm going to give that a bit of a clean, and that is about it. Let's see what we can do in the cleaning department. So really simple. I don't know how well you can see that, if I can get it in the light. Can you see that slot? And there's another one that side. And then on this rubber tube there's a corresponding slot so it can't move. And then basically all that fuel tap is doing is turning around inside that rubber. And then on the fuel tap you've just got a hole, and as you twist it, it's opening or closing in the valve. So you all know how to clean things, so I'm going to clean these off camera. I don't think there's much point in showing you too much of that, but I'll bring you back when I'm looking at putting the fuel filter back in. But if you ever wonder what was inside a fuel tap or these type, then that's what it looks like. Right, these are the parts that I bought, the filters. Now these have got a thread to screw them in, which I don't think these taps have got, so we might be gluing them in, but that's the part number I bought. They weren't cheap, but they weren't expensive, and I wanted to reuse these. They're too nice to sort of throw away and just buy new ones just for the sake of it. Got to say, I've cleaned those out now. I don't know if you can see all these bits of crap. There's God knows what in there. Whether that's because the filter had died or whether that's because of the congealed petrol, but yeah, you wouldn't want that in your carburetor. So let's fit the filters in and see how that's going to work out. Right, I don't know if you can just make out, there's a very small thread cut in that. I'd hardly call it a thread, but basically that does line up with the thread that goes in the filter, so all I'm going to do is screw them in. Can't do it one-handed, so I'm going to put you back in the tripod. So just simply Squeeze that a bit, and that one's done up. It's not hard, you just need to get a grip on it without squashing too much. Right, and that's the other one. So what we're going to do now, I've cleaned those, so I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that, but basically that's going to go in, going to line up those slots. Goes all the way to the bottom, and then the hole lines up going through. The fuel tap, you'll see the arms going through there, so that squeezes in like so, and then we just need to see me struggle to get that circlip back in, which we'll do in a minute. So basically, you can see that as you twist that round, it's opening and closing the valve. So not the most exciting of videos, but if you've ever played with fuel taps, or if you've never, maybe you'll find that interesting and helpful. I'll clip that back in, and then we'll just do the other one. Then I'll put the fittings on, and it's ready to put in the tank, which I'll show you next. So then we've got the barb, which is just basically, that fits in there, and as you squeeze it on, it makes a seal. And obviously the fuel pipe goes on the end of there. And then we've got a nut. And what that does, this thread obviously screws up into the fuel tank. And then you can adjust the position of this in relationship to where you want it, and then you lock that up against the tank. And then last but no means least, it's a Doughty washer. So I'm not sure who Doughty is, but basically you've got a washer. I don't know how well you can see that. I'll put it in my hand maybe. You've got a rubber seal around the outside, and you've got a rubber seal on the inside. So instead of using a fibre washer, it basically goes on there, and it should make a seal. Well, I've used them before, makes a seal to the tank. Right, that's it. Let me get the tank out, I'll put the other one together, and we're ready to go. Now, this is the biggest disappointment. This tank got painted. I didn't want the stripes on it. I got the logos put underneath the lacquer. Absolutely lovely job. But I don't know if you can see how the paint's picked. So as that cap comes down, it was catching on this edge, and then it's got underneath the paint, and it's basically wrecked that part of it. Now I'm trying to work out what I want to do about that. So answers on a postcard. I have got an idea which would be cheap and cheerful and just a way of getting around it. I haven't decided if that's what I really want to do or not. I mean, ultimately the best solution is to get it repainted, but to be fair, the rest of the tank is in such good condition and it's probably going to cost 400 quid to get it painted. I'm not keen on that, so I was wondering about a solution which maybe would fit just round the top as a bit of a disguise. But anyway, let me turn it over and I'll show you what we're going to do with the taps. So a bit of the side project. I've now picked off all the damaged paint that had curled up and the paint the fuel had got underneath it. And I've just treated it with some etch prime for the moment. The plan is I've rubbed all the paint off around that edge, and it's never going to have any paint but back on it. Basically, I'm going to put some grease around that, if anything, so hopefully it won't happen again. And then I'm trying to decide how I can what I can do with that. I could pay 400 quid and have the whole thing redone again. Don't want to do that. I'm currently looking at a vinyl patch. Wonder if we should have like a spider or something sticking out the side of it so it makes it obvious. Bit of fun. Pinstripe, some sort of sign writing, I don't know. Anyway, that's another problem for another day. Let's have a look at the fuel taps. So the Norton's got 2 taps, and the idea is once you've screwed that down, and then you've decided what angle you want your fuel tap at, you just lock that nut down until it touches the metal part of that, and that squashed the rubber and made it tight. Now whether I'll put a little bit of goo in that thread just to give it a little bit of extra, I'll have a think about that, but that's sort of the plan. Well, I know it's not the most exciting thing I've ever filmed, or maybe none of the stuff that I'm doing is that exciting, who knows, I often wonder. But thanks to all the people that have made comments, and thanks to everyone who's taken time to watch the video. See you on the next one.